If you've received an abnormal pap smear result and testing positive for high-risk HPV virus, and you're wondering, how worried should I be? Is there something I should be doing? And is there a risk of waiting to see if it gets worse? Then you're in the right place. I'm going to be answering those questions in this video. I'm going to talk you through the progression with abnormal pap smears to cervical cancer and what is the risk of that, and share with you an example case and tell you what I would do if I were in that situation. So I'm Dr. Donnie Wilson. I'm a naturopathic doctor and midwife who has turned into an advocate for women who are dealing with abnormal pap smears and high-risk HPV virus, because I see that the conventional medical system is not doing enough to help women to prevent cervical cancer. I consider cervical cancer to be one of the most preventable cancers there is, and I want you to know that there are steps you can take to protect yourself from cervical cancer and from HPV causing things to be worse and disrupting your life along the way. So first, let's talk about the real statistics related to untreated high-risk HPV virus. What I mean is when, for example, you go into the doctor, you get your pap smear, maybe you test positive for high-risk HPV, and maybe there's no abnormal cells at this point, or maybe the cells are mildly abnormal. And in that situation, your doctor might suggest that you get a biopsy, which might confirm that it's low grade, and then your doctor is going to say to you to wait and see, to come back in 6 months to a year to see if it progresses. Because from your conventional doctor's perspective, they're waiting to determine whether you need a procedure or surgery to remove abnormal cells. And there's nothing they can offer in the meantime. So they're going to say, come back and see if you're going to need a surgery at some point. So then they tell you, just don't worry, and maybe it's going to go away, because there is a percentage of the time when the body can clear HPV on its own, and with low-grade abnormal cells, there's a percentage of the time, even 50 to 60 or sometimes even 75% of the time, that the body will just heal mildly abnormal cells without you intervening at all. And so that's why the doctor is saying, hey, just wait and see if you're in that percentage of women that heals on their own and this goes away and it's never an issue. The thing is that there's also a percentage of women where it doesn't heal on its own. And so I hear from so many women who then go back in after 6 to 12 months and end up then finding out that they were in the percentage, some depending on the severity where you started, it could be anywhere from 10 to 15 or even 20% of women where it ends up going into a worsening, more severe abnormal cells. So now the woman goes back in and the doctor says, actually now it has progressed to more advanced abnormal cells. Now they're going to need to do another biopsy, and they may then be recommending a procedure to remove abnormal cells, whether that's a LEEP procedure or what's referred to as a cone biopsy or conization, or other type of procedure to remove those abnormal cells. But even still, the doctor is not likely to mention anything that you can do to prevent it from happening again. And so many women will go through a procedure to remove the abnormal cells, which is important. It's better to remove those abnormal cells before they go to cancer cells, that's for sure. And then the doctor will say, come back again in another 3 to 6 months. So now you're on this recurring, going back to the doctor's office, another pap smear and another biopsy. And at that point, maybe it hasn't recurred yet, or maybe it has already. Or the doctor will say, come back in another 6 months to a year. And then you go back again. Maybe now there's a certain percentage of women where it may progress again to abnormal cells. The more severely abnormal cells are referred to as CIN2 or CIN3. This is before it turns into cervical cancer. And the likelihood of it turning into cervical cancer is considered to be low. Less than 1% of cases turn into cervical cancer, but that doesn't mean that it's 0%. turn into cervical cancer. That means, for example, if we look at just the United States, in a year, there's over 14 million women who find out they have tested positive for high-risk HPV virus in 1 year, 14 million. And there's up to about 13,000 who find out that it has turned into cervical cancer. So it's considered to be rare for it to progress all the way to cervical cancer, but it can happen. And what I want you to know is that you don't have to just wait around in a state of fear and worry and then find out in 6 months to a year or even several years from now that it has progressed to CIN3, and now you need to do a procedure to remove those cells. It begins with a lead procedure or conization, and depending on your age and the severity, then the doctor might be talking about doing a hysterectomy to remove the cervix and the uterus. The thing is that even after having a hysterectomy, the virus is still present, and you could go back and then have the virus causing abnormal cells in the vagina or other areas of your body. For example, the vulva or the anal area. So I'm telling you this to let you know that that can happen, because the doctor's office might not emphasize that to you. You know, a lot of times we think, oh, I went in for the procedure, they removed the cells, and I'm done, over. And I want you to know that there's a percentage of the time when it can recur. And it depends somewhat on your risk factors and your age and the severity. There's multiple variables of what's the likelihood of it recurring. But I want you to know that it could recur, because I hear from so many women where the doctor didn't tell them that it could recur and didn't tell them that there was something they could do to stop it from recurring. For example, I want to talk with you about a case where a woman who I spoke with today, and she went in to her annual exam as she had been over time. And this is one of the key things, is definitely do get your exams done, because it's better to catch it early. It's so much better to catch it early. So doing the exams is important. Doing a PAP, if necessary, do a biopsy. Better to know where you are so you can be proactive. So she did do that. And in 2023, they found that the HPV had caused CIN2, which is considered high-grade abnormal cells. And so then the doctor said, you need to do a procedure to remove those cells. Well, she waited another 6 months, and she went back in, and 6 months later, it had progressed to CIN3. So it progressed within 6 months from CIN2 to CIN3. And at that point, the doctor said, we need to do a cone biopsy, which is removing part of the cervix. So she did the cone biopsy. This is a woman who's 32 years old. And she is still wanting to have pregnancies and children. So she's starting to get worried, because now this is a surgery on her cervix, which can affect the ability to maintain a pregnancy. So she does the conization, and then 6 months later, she goes back to check again. And at that point, there was no abnormal cells. So 6 months later, it had not recurred. And the doctor said, come back in a year. She went back a year later. So now it's March of 2025. And she goes back in, and now it did recur back to CIN3, back to the same place she had been 2 years ago. There it is again. And she's now thinking, I wish I would have done something to prevent this 2 years ago. I wish my doctor would have told me, first of all, that it could progress, that it could recur, and that there's something I could do about this. And it's so upsetting to me. And it's so upsetting to women to be in that situation. Maybe some of you have been in that situation, and to be like, wait a minute, once you're in that percentage, yes, it's not 100% that progresses. So I want you to know that. However, the more severe, the higher the likelihood it's going to progress. So if it's at low grade, the likelihood of progressing is 10 to 15% of cases. If it's at high grade, the likelihood of progressing goes up to 20 to 30% of cases will progress to even higher grade. And then the higher the grade, like CIN3, the greater the likelihood of progressing to cancer. Then the rate goes up to 1 to 5% rate increased risk of cervical cancer. So the more it's progressing, the more important it is to take action. And removing the abnormal cells is important, but that doesn't stop the virus from causing abnormal cells again. So I want you to know that fact, because I also want you to know that there's something you can do about it, that your doctor is not going to tell you about, because they are not trained in that. Medical doctors are not trained in, the prevention or how to help your body protect you from HPV. They're not trained to look at the root causes of why your body's not protecting you in the first place. They're not trained in nutrition, in herbal medicine, in homeopathy, in looking at gut health, microbiome, nutrient deficiencies, hormone imbalances, the effects of stress and trauma. That's not in their training, but that is in the training of a naturopathic doctor like me. That is in the training of a functional medicine practitioner like me. That's what we do. That's how my training is different. I learned the standard conventional approach. I learned how to do pap smears, when to do a biopsy, and so on. And then I saw that model, while important, is lacking in helping women to prevent cervical cancer and prevent the need for surgery. And that's why I do what I do, which is to focus on a functional medicine or naturopathic medicine approach to HPV, where I start to say, why? I start to ask the question, why is your body not clearing that HPV to negative? Why is your body not protecting you from HPV? Why are these abnormal cells able to progress? Because remember, it doesn't progress in everybody. So if it does progress, there has to be a reason. We have to start asking why. And that's what I guide women to do when I work with them one-on-one or in my group online program. I guide them down the path step by step to asking why for your body. Why is it that your body's not clearing the virus? And we go through 8 most common of those root causes or susceptibilities. 1 being stress and trauma. If you know you've been exposed to a high amount of stress or trauma in recent years or any time in your life for that matter, that already increases your risk of HPV persisting, and causing abnormal cells. So we need to help you recover from the stress and trauma. And that's actually possible. I know a lot of times we think, oh, what can I do about stress and trauma? It happened in the past. I'm telling you, there are so many effective tools to help your body recover, starting with looking at your stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, and re-optimizing them, let alone helping you to take care of yourself, to regulate your nervous system, to use different forms of therapy, mindfulness, meditation, and so much more that helps your nervous system heal from trauma and helps you to eliminate the impact of stress and trauma from your health, from your immune system. That alone can help women to protect themselves from high-risk HPV virus. And that's what I specialize in, and that's what I guide women to do.
I know how scary it is to test positive for HPV virus, and I know it's even more concerning when your gynecologist tells you that all you can do is wait and see if it continues and if it causes abnormal cells. That's exactly why, as a naturopathic doctor and midwife, that I feel so passionate about helping women to be proactive about protecting themselves from HPV virus. I've been helping thousands of women for the past 23 years to do exactly that and to get HPV to negative and stay negative. And that's why I developed the Say Goodbye to HPV online program, where you can get access to my proven protocol from wherever you are in the world. So I hope you will come check out the Say Goodbye to HPV program, review the success cases, and see if this is going to be a good fit to help you get your life back from HPV.
Then we need to look for nutrient deficiencies. This is one of the most common other susceptibilities I find in my patients because so many women are deficient in nutrients without realizing it. It's not being tested in regular blood work. Maybe if you're lucky, you're getting tested for vitamin D. That's a good place to start, but you might also be depleted in iron, B vitamins, minerals, and so much more. So we need to do the right testing to find out if you're deficient in these nutrients because those nutrients are essential for helping your immune system protect you from HPV virus and helping your body make healthy new cells on your cervix. Then there's hormones, all the hormones, everything from estrogen, progesterone, insulin, cortisol. We need to know what your hormones are up to. If they're imbalanced, then we can rebalance them. If your blood sugar is imbalanced, we can balance that. If your estrogen and progesterone is either too high or too low, there's many natural approaches to help re-optimize those hormones, especially for women who are peri and postmenopausal, where their estrogen is now dropping. That's also a susceptibility. We need to help you get appropriate, safe, and effective replacement of your hormones to protect you from high-risk HPV without increasing any kind of risk. And the research now is demonstrating that absolutely there are safe and effective ways for women to optimize estrogen and progesterone levels without any increased risk of breast cancer. So I want you to know that and to be able to help yourself, especially if you're peri and postmenopausal. And for women who are menstruating, we need to find out if you have high estrogen and how well you're detoxifying estrogen, because if that's not going well, we can address that too with natural approaches, diet changes, lifestyle changes, herbs, nutrients. That's what I specialize in, and the research exists, and the clinical studies show it works. That's just part of the susceptibilities. There's also gut health. We need to be looking at how well are you digesting your food, absorbing your nutrients? Do you have leaky gut? How's your microbiome? Because the gut microbiome influences the vaginal microbiome. And if the vaginal microbiome is not protecting you, then you're going to be susceptible to bacterial infections, yeast infections, and HPV infections. And we can do something about that. Even if you've been exposed to antibiotics, even if you've had your microbiome fully disrupted, we can test for it and we can fix it using natural approaches. So please don't give up. Please know you have solutions, but you're not going to hear about these things in the standard doctor's office, probably not even in most naturopathic offices and most midwifery offices, because this is something that I've specialized in over time and developed a specific protocol based on the patient cases I work with. Thousands of women have helped me to develop this protocol. And so it's not something you're going to see everywhere. I'm aiming to train more practitioners in this protocol because I believe women deserve access to how to address these root causes, how to address the nutrients, the hormones, the microbiome, the trauma, and more, let alone toxin exposure. We're exposed to toxins in our air, food, and water, and those toxins affect our immune system's ability to protect us from high-risk HPV. So we need to identify the toxin exposure and help you detox safely and effectively. We also need to be looking at medications that could be making you susceptible to high-risk HPV. And there's so much more. We also need to be looking at your diet. A lot of different foods increase susceptibility, including gluten and sugar. And many, many people are consuming gluten and sugar and alcohol on a daily basis. And those foods are very much associated with a depleted immune system and disrupted microbiome. So I need to be able to help you to change your diet and start taking charge of your health, what food you're feeding to yourself that's going to help protect you from high-risk HPV and prevent it from progressing, prevent it from recurring, preventing it from causing you to need a surgery, and preventing it from causing cancer. That's huge, because what can happen is this case that I just shared with you, now she's in a situation where her doctor is saying that she needs another cone biopsy to remove abnormal cells, and that can further put her ability to have a successful pregnancy at risk at 32 years old. And she's saying to me, there's got to be another way. I'm too young for this. I want to be able to have a successful pregnancy. And the doctor's telling me they have to do another surgery and that's the only option. So then she can come to me and I can say, there are other options. When CIN2 or CIN3 exists, there's an alternative to LEEP and conization called escharotic treatments. That's something that I was trained in over 25 years ago and have helped thousands of women to complete successfully, to clear the CIN2 and 3 and heal their cervix completely without needing a surgery and without scar tissue, without damage to the cervix. But we don't just do escharotic treatments. We also do the full approach to address the virus at the core so that it doesn't recur again. To the extent that we don't do that, then we're putting ourselves at risk of a recurrence. And I want you to know that because your life is worth it. Your body is worth it. Your future is worth it. The future you is going to thank you for taking action today. Don't wait. Every woman that I talk to in this situation says to me, I wish I would have done something sooner. I wish I would have found out about, they say they wish they would have found out about me, Dr. Donnie, sooner. They wish they would have found my protocol sooner. And they dive in 100%. They read my book, the Master Stress Reset Your Health book. They start implementing the doses and the protocol I suggest every day because they realize at that point that they have to, because it's a matter of fighting for their life at that point, because that CIN3 could turn into cancer and that procedure could lead to another surgery that could affect what they're planning for their future in their life. And you get to that point and you're pushed up against the wall and you'd say, what am I gonna do now? So I want you to know, first of all, if you've already got to that point, I can help you. So reach out to me if you're like, I'm already at CIN3, I'm already fighting for my life and my future. Dr. Donnie, how can you help me? Reach out to me. I can help at that point. Even if you're already to cervical cancer, I can help you at that point. You'll be in care for cervical cancer, and I'm going to help you address the virus so it doesn't recur again. And if you're listening before that, if you recently were diagnosed with HPV, mildly abnormal cells, I encourage you, take action now because there are natural approaches, natural solutions that will help you protect yourself from cancer, but also help your whole body heal. We're helping to address nutrient deficiencies, hormone imbalances, effects of stress. And when we do that, not only do you clear HPV and heal your cervix, but you also improve your fertility. You also start preventing other health issues like autoimmunity and weight gain and gut issues and skin issues and heart disease issues and diabetes. And we're preventing every condition on the list because we're getting to the root cause of the problem. Instead of just like if a weed is growing in the yard, if you just pick the leaves, the weed comes back, right? Because the roots are still there. If we don't go to the root cause, that's what we mean by the root cause. We have to go to the root of the weed if we want to get rid of the weed. And in this situation, HPV is the weed. HPV, if the root is there, it's going to keep on making more weeds. More weeds are going to grow. No matter how many times you just do a surgery and remove the leaves or the flower of the weed, it doesn't matter because the root is there and it's going to recur. Or you're at risk of it recurring. And the more stress you're under and the more depleted you are, the more likelihood it's going to recur. So we have to get to the root cause. We have to get to the root. We got to dig and we got to be detectives and we got to say, I'm going to make this my priority. And that's what I help you do. I line up with you and I say, let's make you a priority. Your health is a priority. Your life is a priority. And the thing is that for a lot of women, we might not feel that we're worthy of that. And so if that speaks to you, I want to just let you know that I believe you're worth it. I believe your life is worth it. Your purpose, your passion, your future is worth it. Even if other people have not told that to you in the past, I believe that there's a part of you, inside of you, that does know that you are worth it. You are worthy of getting support. You are worthy of preventing this from getting worse. You are worthy of making this a priority and doing something about it now before it gets worse, before it recurs, before you're pushed up against the wall with no other options. And again, if you already are progressed, that's also a time to call me, because I can help you no matter where you are in this situation, to say, let's, like the woman I talked to today, we're going to help her to heal her cervix and to address this HPV, get it to negative, so that she can go on to having a healthy pregnancy and whatever she wants to be doing in her future, being free of HPV, free of the worry of HPV, free of the worry of cervical cancer, free of the worry of surgery, free. Because that's what I see in my cases, the cases of women I've been working with for over 25 years, case after case, where we see that that can happen, that they can heal, that we can actually get to the root and get the HPV out of there and have your body protecting you going forward. And I know this is a lot to take in, because the standard doctor's office isn't telling you this, but I want you to know, and you can re-listen to this as many times as you need to know that healing is possible. And I have on my website videos from women who've been through this process, so you're hearing it from them as well, so you can know for yourself that this can work for you too. And I'm going to put a link down below where you can click to apply for a phone call, free phone call with my team, so that we can review your test results with you, and you can learn more about how you can work with me one-on-one, or with a practitioner who I've trained in my protocol, or in a group program with other women who are on the same path. Can you imagine a community of women who are all working together to, instead of ignoring HPV, to figure out how to solve this HPV and get it to go to negative and stay negative? And that's what these women are up to. So if you want to be in a group of women who are saying enough is enough, it's not okay with me to wait until I need surgery, again, I know that I want to do something about this now, no matter what age, no matter how long you've been dealing with it, no matter where you are in the situation, you can join this group of women where they are warriors standing up for themselves and taking back control of their own body and their health and their life. And I want you to know that exists and that it's possible for you as well. Thanks so much for joining me here in this video. And if I can help at all, just reach out to my office. You can find my website at drdani.com, and you can call or email us. Again, set up a call with my team so you can learn more how I can help you. And this is true no matter where you are in the world. I don't think that time zone or location should stop you from getting help. So no matter where you might be listening from in the world, I can help you, because there's ways for us to communicate by Zoom, by using Wi-Fi. We can communicate with each other. You don't have to be in a local area in the same time zone as me for me to be able to help you. So just reach out and we'll go from there. And if you haven't already, I welcome you to listen to more videos from me on how to help with HPV, and to subscribe to this channel and to this podcast so you can make sure to receive the next episode of How Humans Heal, and the next video from me about how you can prevent cervical cancer. So I look forward to connecting with you soon. Take care.
Thanks for listening to How Humans Heal. If you liked this episode, leave a rating and a review. And for more resources, visit drdani.com.